this is rumor, and yes, I realize it may appear that I am wearing the same exact outfit as previous videos, but you're not wrong. It is different this time though, because now I'm wearing glasses. So how's that for variety? You're welcome. Okay, I'll stop being stupid right now. I am feeling a bit idiotic after doing 2 videos prior to this, and now I'm raging into the third. This is real, man. This is one of those days where I'm like, get it done. And so if I was making a mess of decks everywhere, I may as well just like go big or go home and just have to pull it all out and put it all away the one time. So anyways, I have already done a partial cleanup of the previous decks that I have spoken about, which would have been in response to Lisa Pepez's tag, Top 10 Tarot 22. So the top 10 decks that, at least for me, like made the most impression on me that had joined my collection in 2022, which I then followed up with a video on the other decks that I acquired during last year, just tarot decks. But right now, what I wanted to just sort of assess for myself was just pull out my little Purgatory bag and sort through what the state of it is at this moment in time. And it is a hodgepodge of decks that I have had there for quite some time, like since the beginning of last year, and I know that I want to move along somehow, some way. There's maybe even one of those that I've thought, well, maybe it's worth holding on to, I don't know. And then there are ones where I more newly added it and I just know, yeah, they're ready to go. And others, maybe I'm still sitting on it. I don't know, but I guess I'll let you know one by one where my feelings stand on them. So I guess to start out, and you know, I'm already getting annoyed with the glasses. I tried to be different than the other videos, but should we ditch them? Oh, and now that I've taken them off, my eyes have to adjust. Middle age and just my eyes, my changing eyesight, it's just not fun. But I digress. So, I have a stack here of the ones that I know I have talked about before. Honestly, in my very first decluttering videos, I would have spoken to these. I have been able to rehome quite a bit of that initial culling, and not much remains behind of the originals, but I have sat on them a while, so I won't talk about it too at length, but as just a general reminder, I'll go through the tarot decks first. I still have the White Sage Tarot in my possession. Really sweet pastel, cute animals. Chakras woven throughout. It is sweet, but I just found it kind of bland. And I feel bad saying that if you really, really love this deck. It just sort of, I don't know, it lacked a little oomph. So you know what deck has some oomph? If I wanted an animal deck to be cute and sweet, kind of fun, Tarot of Curious Creatures, which I know I've shown in a recent video, but just to show some of these cards again. Now, I was about to say, this is how I like my animals. No, not on human bodies. The animal heads on human bodies. No, not necessarily that aspect of it, but it works for me for this deck. I've explained this in previous videos, so I won't get into it here, but this deck, fun, and most importantly, I want to pull it. It's in my mind a lot, and I want to draw it out. It's not just sitting and languishing in my collection. It is unforgettable, such a joy to work with, and I just was never anywhere close to feeling that same way about the White Sage Tarot, which honestly, it's just how the usage fell out. I would even say, oh, it's just a personal thing, just personal taste. No, I mean, this is my taste. I love this. And I think it's a great little size for traveling with it. And especially if you are into incorporating chakras with your tarot, that's fantastic. And I think it has this nice soft tone, very nice for self-care. So I do think it's wonderful. It's just how usage fell out. It just wasn't exciting me enough that I would want to go grab for it. So that's where that stands. I also mentioned in that, I mean, this is almost a year ago now, so I've been sitting on these for a long time. But what I would have also shown in my decluttering video is the movie tarot. And this one is a fun deck for sure. Has great references that I really enjoyed. I especially loved the Cups family. I mean, our Knight of Cups is the Dread Pirate Roberts. The Queen of Cups is Amelie. Really, really great references. What I didn't ultimately care for, though, were the pips in the minors. And these were at least like embellished pips where you could get a bit of imagery to have more of RWS type message incorporated. It wasn't one that I was going to actually use though, and it isn't, there's not enough to it. I feel like there's so much missed opportunity. It would have been so much more fun to have so many more movies represented by having the pips scenic and making other references. And so it's so limited to have it just the major arcana and the court cards with those movie references. And so that's not fun enough for me to keep around, even if I just wanted to sit and flip through it every now and then to like enjoy and laugh at the cleverness of it. When I'm thinking about pop culture, my itch is majorly scratched by the 80s tarot. And I think this one is out of print now. This is an indie deck. I think I ordered this one on Etsy, but being a child of the 80s, I just absolutely love all the references in here. And there is a reference for each and every card. You're not thrown some generic looking pips. And again, this is no offense to pip decks. There's nothing wrong with that in itself. It is the fact that if you are going for a novelty concept, you're bringing in a fandom. The fans want to enjoy the references. They're not getting it to use a pip style deck. You want to see 78 fun fandom pop cultural references. So anyways, this delivers on that. And is this a deck that I read with regularly? No, I mean, it definitely has that novelty feeling, but I have done readings with it. You can get a real reading out of this, sure. So then the third tarot deck that remains from that original decluttering is the Rebirth Tarot. Really beautiful deck. I like the artwork of this one a lot. It came in that big box and then a plain tuck box, but I also purchased this one through Etsy, and I love the earthy color tones of it. I love the clean whiteness around that. It pairs nicely with other decks because even though it can have intricacy in its own artwork here, it is just generally very clean and open. But that being said, I couldn't really articulate it that great at the time. I do love this Hermit card. There's several cards in here that I love, and then there are some that I just don't, and I didn't really see the association as clearly, and I had a harder time interpreting. So fine, you know, then just shift into intuitive mode or just go by what the tarot title is. But there were just some, I felt like I wanted more explanation of where the artist was coming from in depicting something a certain way. I mean, it's been so long since I've looked at it, honestly, almost a year. I just remember that like the courts, the people in the court cards were very different sizes, and some of them were so tiny, I didn't really understand it. Marlena, if you're watching, hashtag Team Tiny Knights. There's some tiny little knights in there. And yeah, so it just, the inconsistency, I don't know, it just kind of, something just fell flat. I really don't know what else to say. It didn't ultimately grab me, even though I do like aesthetically. It's everything that I love. And the only other deck that I can really think of, at least as far as what I have, it's not the same. It doesn't have that same white open space, but I showed this on a recent video, and I think I made this comparison in the original decluttering video too. But the Tarot de Carlotides, I get a similar vibe, and I couldn't even tell you why, but this deck also just feels very clean to me, and it's nice and small and simply illustrated that it also compare nicely with other decks. And there is some nice detailing in there too that kind of evokes what I saw in the Rebirth Tarot too. So I don't know. I mean, it's clearly not a one-to-one match. I'm just saying that for me, this kind of gives me a similar vibe, and I instantly connected with this deck, and I love this deck, and I get very excited about pulling it out. So because the Rebirth is such a very cool deck, I think that someone else would love it. And I want to find a home for it, for someone who would really appreciate it in a way that I'm unfortunately just not. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, so those were the tarot decks that were from the previous decluttering, and now I have added a couple more. And these I really want to find nice homes for too, because I do very much like both of these decks. But this one, I feel like I do want to sit on it for a bit. I'm like 98.9% sure I will rehome it, but I would like to sit with it a little longer before I ultimately make that decision. So the Darkness of Light Tarot. And this one, I almost feel like it's the cardstock alone that really tugs me towards it, because I got the version that, I forget what edition this was. Does it say 4th edition? And it has this beautiful linen. I don't like the backs. I don't care for that dog. So that's one thing that kind of instantly. But I do like, well, especially with this edition that they went back to the black borders. I know that there was one where they went for more of a white or like an off-white, and I really changed the look of it. So when they came back with black, I like snatched it up. And I think that this artwork is so cool. I like the kind of like grungy texture to it. I like the black and white gray tones, and I also like that when you get into the minors, then you start to get more color brought in. So the wands have more of a pink tone. The swords, just sort of like that really like soft grayish blue. The cups have like a really like subtle green, I think. I'm colorblind, so I can't always see subtle tones very well. But then appropriately, then the pentacles have like an earthier brown, but it's very soft. It's all very subtle. So the deck is still, there's still a cohesion through the deck, because what color is there is subtle enough. But just to see those tones, it is really nice, like laying it out, and you can readily make out the different suits, the different elements. So I do like this deck. I feel like it feels very Game of Thronesy. I have not seen Game of Thrones. I just lost major street cred, if I even had any to begin with, which I'm doubting. But whatever I had, I've gone in deficit in street cred now for saying that. I know, I haven't seen it. Think of it this way. Live vicariously through me. If you love that show, I have yet to see it and love it for the first time. So just think of that journey ahead of me. It's nice that I can still look forward to that, because I will watch it. I promise. I promise. I've always meant to watch it. I haven't. I get that kind of sense from it though, where it feels a little like medievally, but I wasn't using it. And I think part of the reason is because I have this deck, which, not that I'm even using this one a lot, but I do use it more. Why? I don't know. Heaven and Earth Tarot, that's the back of it. I edged mine, oh my God, gray. I cropped mine. I cut those banners off. I really like this deck, and I like the size of it now that it has been cropped down. It just like, it feels good. It's just a little chunk. I am hardly the first person to draw the comparison between Heaven and Earth Tarot and Darkness of Light. Definitely. I guess my other competing deck with Darkness of Light is this other deck illustrated by, I think Jack Sephiroth is the artist. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken. It's actually an author, but the Runic Tarot. I haven't worked with this one yet. I was actually in Iceland and curled up in the midst of a blizzard watching Callie at the Truth and Story do a walkthrough of it. And like being in Iceland and seeing like this Viking tarot, I was really feeling it. So I bought it, but then I tucked it away because I just wanted to properly study the mythologies that are represented here. And I have done rune study, but it's something that I really need to go more in depth with. But anyways, this is like brighter in color, I think, than the Heaven and Earth Tarot, but it is just another deck that very much gives me a similar vibe to what I get from the Darkness of Light. So I feel okay probably passing that one on. But I do love that linen card stock. It is just a cool deck. So I don't know. I guess that's why I just feel like, that's why it's in Purgatory. So I can just take some time to think. Now this one, I've got Purgatory technically, but I know I'm going to pass it on, and it really surprises me because it's one I very much loved and very much used a lot. The Sassaribido. I just came to a realization one day that time has passed. And I love it, and it makes me sad as I open the box and I immediately see that Fool. Love him. Love him. Okay, here are my thoughts with this one. This is like, I don't know if this is like a first or second edition. It's very shiny. So my thought is that if I rehome this and regret it, then I will get the linen version of it, like the smaller one. Because, oh gosh, this deck is so beautiful. So maybe this is just more a matter of me rehoming this and getting a linen copy if it's still available. But I think even if it's not, I would still be at peace with rehoming it. Because as much as I do love this deck, I found that I really wasn't going to it anymore because it's the one I would turn to for, whether for myself or others, if I just wanted something very self-caring, gentle. And speaking of the Gentle Tarot, this has filled that space, I think. Over the last year, as I mentioned in my other video, I found that this really, 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 really carved a special place in my heart. I just feel like this is the one that I want to go to now. So kind of wanted it for the same reasons that I originally gravitated to the Sassaribido. So I don't know. I mean, just flipping through it, like there are some cards I really do love in that deck, and it makes me kind of sad to think like not having that, but I didn't have that feeling for the deck overall though, if I'm honest. I never had the love affair with it that a lot of others have. I think it was worth all the hype that it got, but I just feel like maybe I personally didn't have that same connection, but I really did love like its gentle soul. It's really beautiful, really clever, reinterpretations of cards too, deviating from more traditional imagery. So like I said, I know for sure I will move this on, and it would just remain to be seen if I decided to get the linen version. So then that's it for the tarot in my Purgatory. I'll try to more quickly go through with Oracle because I have more Oracle. So from the original decluttering video, messages from the mermaids. You know what? I'm not even going to take them out. I showed them in the earlier video. So let's just do it this way. Messages from the mermaids. I have swapped out. Basically, I have my bag of oceanic decks, and I don't really feel the need to have multiple Oracle decks for that, even though I do have multiple tarot cards or tarot decks. But one oceanic Oracle suffices for me right now, and I have decided that this one is what I was much more interested in going into, the Whispers of the Ocean. So this stays, this one's gonna go. Also had mentioned Sacred Self-Care Oracle. I do like this one. I didn't like the artwork ever. It was okay, but I don't know. But I just felt like some of the messages were like misses, where it didn't feel as actionable, like something that I could do right then in that moment. So the happiness chemical seems to do that a bit better. There's just little things where it's like, even if it's just like, oh, get up and dance, where like, I think the one thing that put me off this one was like, plan a trip. And I was like, well, I don't want to get involved in that. So I don't know. I liked this one better. And then finally, from the original decluttering, I still have this Oracle of the Radiant Sun, and this isn't as a result of using it and feeling like it wasn't a fit. It was before I even really got into it. I flipped through the cards a little bit, and then I just immediately identified, I'm already overwhelmed. I'm already overwhelmed. I haven't really incorporated astrology much with my tarot practice. I need to study it more. I am also studying other things though, and it's just I haven't done a deep dive into that realm. So for right now, for where I'm at now, if I want to tie that in, I have been more than happy with the Heavenly Bodies astrology deck. I mean, this is very, very, very beginner friendly. And I don't feel like I have to have a proficiency in astrology to use this, where I feel like there's a very particular way of using this deck, and I'm just not at that level yet. Someday, yeah, hopefully, and at that time, maybe I'll get the deck. It does make me think maybe I should hold on to it if I think that that's at all possible. So I might, I am on the fence with this, where maybe I will just keep it, but keep it stored away so I don't have to look at it and feel that overwhelm. But yeah, so that's where that's at. So then for other Oracle decks, I am most likely not giving this one away, to be honest. I mainly wanted to just make room in this little box. You see there? Where I keep Oracle decks, like my kind of general go-tos. I was just trying to make room for others that I felt like I was using more, because this really was sitting unused. But I do like it. I think I'm going to keep it. But I've just got it in the Purgatory space right now to just make room, and also to see if it's truly out of sight. Will I realize I just don't need it? So the Connected and Free, and I first got this very, very, very early on in my tarot journey, when I had recently acquired the Wild Unknown Tarot. So I'm going back a ways. And I had seen this recommended online as a good oracle to pair with the Wild Unknown, and it is indeed true. But I just ultimately wasn't using even the Wild Unknown tarot deck. I mean, I still keep it. I'll always keep that deck. I do like it. But I just felt like, okay, so I wasn't doing that pairing. I did like pairing this with the Light Seers tarot. They look very pretty with each other, and they have that, like, just with the colors and boho spirit of it. Those are a nice match. I'm just also not using the Light Seers as often lately. For the kind of vibe the Connected and Free gives me, the decks I would use it with, I would probably more likely go to something like the Sacred Rebels Oracle. I really like the guidebook for this deck. And this is the earlier version where it's still glossy with borders. I do have a version of it without, but I keep that in the States at my mom's house. Because this is an Oracle deck that has been a bit of a workhorse. I don't know, but I feel like Connected and Free is a really good all-around deck. Like you could pull it out with a lot of different decks used for a lot of different readings. There's a lot of great keywords in there. So I think it is versatile. I don't know why I've been ignoring it. So we'll see about that one. But then this one I am ready to move along. I don't have, it didn't come in a box, but it does have this printout. The original Earthly Souls and Spirits Oracle. Not even the original. This isn't like the first version she would have had of it. Oh, there we go. So US Games, I believe, is coming out with, or has already come out with the mass market version of this, which is a more manageable size. I've got this gargantuan postcard size, or I don't know, maybe bigger than some postcards. But it's so beautiful, and I long ago discarded this as an Oracle deck because I just never really felt a connection between the keywords and the artwork, which I would assume is different with the mass market version, and there may even be new things added in. I can only guess that they would have gone through and tightened that up a bit, but I guess I can't say. I haven't seen it. I haven't watched any walkthroughs of it. I'm not interested in getting it, so I haven't researched it. The artwork is so beautiful. I mean, it really is breathtakingly beautiful. So even though I wasn't using this as an Oracle deck, I was still going to hold on to it for the artwork alone. And it could still be worth doing that, but I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I do know this is also available mass market and has a smaller deck. Although having it larger, you can see the detail of the art better. Do I need to, like, how often, and am I really going to just pull it out and look at it? And I just kind of feel like I've seen it. I think I like to bring it out at Halloween time because we know once you get those autumn feelings, it was really atmospheric for that. But to capture the witchy vibes, the Seasons of the Witch, Samhain Oracle. This is great. I love this oracle. I love the keywords. I love the guidebook. Maybe I do like the artwork in the other one better than this, but I like this. It sets the atmosphere. It really captures the tone of that time of year and the sorts of things we're reflecting on at that time. And yeah, so it's no contest, and this is actually a usable deck for me. I don't really need to have an art deck just sitting and taking up space. I'm not really going to use it for that anymore. So then next up, I had gotten this a long time ago, The Prophet, based on Khalil Gibran's, or Gibran's, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, but with this deck, what is this? Blue Angel. So you get this book that has the full text of The Prophet, but then you also get just these excerpts from it as relate to the words and phrases that were pulled out to put on the cards. And what is cool about this deck is that I believe, I mean, it's the author's own artwork as well. So I thought that was really neat to pair his words with his art. There are some images in here that are landscape versus portrait, which is annoying, but not a big deal. I guess I just found that, like, I thought it would be a deck that, because I haven't read The Prophet from start to finish, but I have read bits of it before, and I thought this would be a neat way to engage with it, like pulling a card to see what area of it I should focus on and read about and meditate on. And I just found that I wasn't. And the fact remains that I have the book. I have this old copy that my mom gave me years and years ago. So it's like, I do have the book. If it's a matter of like shuffling the cards to just see what part of the book I should read, then I can just do bibliomancy and I can just flip through the pages and do just that. And look, there's images in there. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. I really wasn't using that as a deck. And even if it had merit as an art deck, I've got this, Art of Life. I mean, it's not the same thing, but if that was the draw of it, to have the art with these quotations, well, here's art with quotations. This is the back. I don't know if this one is in print. I want to say it's not. But I don't use this very much. I'm glad to have it though. I will be keeping it, but you know, to the extent that I pulled this out, I'm pulling the other one out even less. So yeah. Okay, so if the framing of this and lighting has shifted, it's because my battery died. And I took the opportunity to put all my other decks away from this and my other videos, had a snack, caught up with my 365 yellow bricks activity for today and technically catching up for yesterday. And yeah, so I made good use of that time and hopefully I've got enough battery power to get through the very few remaining decks in my Purgatory pile. So let's go with this one. This is a lovely deck and I really haven't given it enough of a chance. I really think that this does come from a place of, I think I already had something that was doing it and I didn't really find that this was adding to that, and I would rather not like stack up on and have too many redundant decks. How about I stop talking about it behind its back and just let it show its face? The Mother Mary Oracle. This is a mini version of Alana Fairchild. I love this size, and it's such nice matte cardstock. They all have their own image, different from one another, and then a message. So there is a full-sized version of this deck, which I have never used, but this is a really, really beautiful deck. I do enjoy the artwork and the messages are very nice. I was looking to supplement my Mysteries of Mary tarot deck. I don't know if it's showing, but got my little meditation station over there, and in a tray below there, I should do a tour of that sometime, and I will. But I keep some decks there that are nice ones to pull after I have done a meditation. So this is, I mean, great just to get like a little message right away from that. Well, here, I'll show you, I guess, what is giving me the conflict. I had already had this oracle, Madonnas and Virgins, Our Lady Oracle. These are the backs. But these are just images. There's no keyword or message. There's no guidebook. This is just this photographer capturing different statuary, paintings, what have you, of the Blessed Mother throughout the Southwest, maybe also Mexico. So it really leaves it open to intuition. And what I like about it with the Mysteries of Mary deck, you've got photographic images here. These are actual little sort of I mean, they're altars. I call them dioramas though, because I love dioramas. So they've been physically put together by Hetien, and these are also photographs of actual tangible objects. It's kind of, there's a kitschiness to both of these decks, I feel like, and I'm not even meaning that in a negative way. I love it. Like, look at that. So they're just really, really beautiful together. And I don't know, I thought that maybe because this didn't have any keywords or messages, sometimes I'm in a mood for that. Sometimes I do want a little bit more. And so I was curious about this Mother Mary Oracle, and seeing the mini version seemed like a good opportunity. I guess if I do want a little keyword and a little thing to read, what had already been working for me, I was using Divine Doors, this little mini deck. And again, I like this because it's also photographic. So that goes really well with those other two decks. And it's great just looking at the door. I automatically get an impression of them that adds an extra layer of meaning to a reading. And then if I want that keyword, that's something I can decide to look at if I want that. So Vessel Oracle is the next one up. I've had this for a long time. This was an early Oracle deck for me, and it's really cute, and I bought it because it reminded me of images you might draw as a kid. And so I thought I would use it for inner child, but it can go well beyond that. I just haven't really used it a whole lot, but it does have great keywords. The artwork is very quirky and simple, but there are certain things that really make you think too. You just kind of look at it to get a sense of, well, what am I looking at? How am I interpreting this? And it really is nice intuitively. And again, just has that like simplicity that just feels kind of childlike, and sometimes there's a time for that. But the guidebook is really simple, but there are some write-ups if you wanted to go a little deeper. So basically, I had put this in Purgatory before, and then I pulled it out because I was pairing it last year for a time with the Reclaim Oracle, because I thought they had a similar style. I mean, it's a very different style, but just looking very hand-drawn and almost childlike. And then also with these cursive keywords. And I was pairing them together and seeing how they spoke together. And that actually did work pretty well. And I feel like maybe I should do that a few more times before I make an ultimate decision on this. But I was also coming to realize, well, I don't use the Reclaim a whole lot either. I'm not ready to rehome this or like even put it in Purgatory to think about it for a while. I just want to work with it more. I want to get a better sense of how I work with it. Even just the mechanics of like, what kind of spreads am I doing with this? How do I approach readings with this? Because it's different from a typical Oracle card. And there's so many. There's so many cards. So I love what's in the offing here, that there's just a lot to work with. And you have had a very emotional past year and everything, and you'd think that I would use it more for that. And I feel like it's just one of those things, like when it feels right. So there was definitely a time last year it felt really right to be using it. And like I said, I used it with the Vessel, and I think I shared that in one of my videos. But I then haven't been looking at this, and I back up from the light. It's getting bright now that it's getting darker outside. This ring light is getting more. But anyways, just kind of leaving it there for when I feel called to it. And I think that it might be enough to just work with this on its own. I don't think that it really needs to be paired with anything. And I actually, what I should do is cross-reference the guidebooks, because I feel like there's probably nothing in here that's not also represented in this deck. But I should really go through and just confirm that. And of course, the images offer something different, even if it has the same exact keyword. What I get from the visual could be different, but I just, I had put it in Purgatory before. I did pull it back out. Now it's back in. I just feel like it's going to be one of those decks, but I'm not in a hurry to give it away. Probably will sit with me for a while. So then my final three are getting into a very shadowy realm. So I'm going to kind of speak to them as a group, I guess. I've got the Dark Mirror, Mausolea, Oracle of Souls, and Angelarium, Oracle of Emanations. So the first of these that I bought was this. This deck, it's very different than what I think I would typically pick up. I like the artwork. I don't really care for the borders on it, but this looks really cool. I do like these pictures, and there's just something very otherworldly, and there are these like recognizable figures and archetypes throughout history and myth, etc. Like, I mean, Shakespeare's in there. The guidebook gets into the different worlds, like there's different lands that they represent. And so of these three, this one is my favorite of them. So this one is going to sit in Purgatory for a while as I continue to think about it, because it actually looks cool too. I've used it with Deviant Moon. It just has that kind of coloration. So I do like this one. I feel like I will hold on to it for a while. Soon after I got it, though, then I was hearing about this Angelarium, and it's the same publisher. Oh, it's Lo Scarabeo. So it's the same cardstock. They're the same size. I mean, different backs here, obviously, and different things depicted here, but I got these to be a combined deck, and I shuffled them together so I could bring in these figures and whatever wisdom they had to share, along with these angels. And these are really different interpretations visually of angels. I certainly do not think that angels are the winged figures that you usually see in art. I don't necessarily know what I think they might look like. I think just if there are angels, I think I just see it more as an energy. But this definitely has a surreal quality. It reminds me a lot of the Magic of You Oracle, which I own and very much love, and will be holding on to that one. Just this very like surreal, ethereal, liminal realm, you know, and it's so unlike I've ever thought of angels, and it incorporates the Kabbalah, but that's one of my reasons for not really bonding with this, because I haven't studied that. So, you know, getting into Tree of Life and everything, I feel like there's a lot I should really study to better appreciate this. And there's one of these I just outright, this isn't my style either. I've gotten very used to them though, so I'm not as creeped out by this imagery. But there's one in here I just really dislike, and no offense, Shaligiel, or however it's pronounced. It just looks like a superhero. Like, that just doesn't fit with me with these other angels. So I mean, I could pull it out, but then I feel like it'd be taking something away from the greater structure that this deck is built around. But anyways, I mean, you get some really intense images, and sometimes I'm just in like a dark, intense mood, and I don't need like the uplifting, angelic messages that other angel type decks can give. Like, this is coming in from another angle. So I don't know, but it'd be a difficult thing to rehome because what I did in combining these decks, I also combined their guidebooks. And this is horrible. I tried to use electrical tape and then like another tape, and I can't get this binding to work. But because it's Lo Scarabeo, the guidebooks had multiple languages. I cut the books apart. I just took the English chunk from each one. So on this side is Mausolea, flip it, and there's Angelarium. And so then you've got all of the English there. And so it just kind of became its own guidebook. So unless someone wanted both of these decks, and I could offer this, even though my craftsmanship isn't so great there, I don't know. But then, like I said, I like this one too. So how many times can I say I don't know? I also show the Dark Mirror. Now this one I know I am going to move on. Here's the regular guidebook size. That's what the other ones were like. Here's its back. It is also the same size as them, so I actually had the 3 as a mega deck at one point. I like the darkness of this deck. I don't like the design of it. I don't, whatever they're going for here. I mean, I can see if it's like a fractured mirror and there's something to take from that, but there's just so much space taken up by this. I don't know. I would like more emphasis on the image, I guess. But anyway, I like the darkness of it. I like how it could be shadowy. I think it's the only way it really could be used. Like it's willing to go into those deeper corners of the psyche. And like this one just reminds me of like when I first used it, this one came up in a reading and it really was very meaningful for me. But then I think since then, I just thought that I was going back to it at a time where my energy was meeting its energy, but I just realized I wasn't, because I was you know, doing a reading about a loved one that I've lost, and I pulled this. I won't cry for you. And that's not how I feel about that situation. I was crying a lot about this person. I was doing a reading to just sort of unpack that, and if it could help me with my healing in some sort of way. So it's like the card did fit. It was definitely calling me out. I think it was meaning to come through as like an encouragement for like, okay, just like get it out, but then like try to move beyond it. But the tone of the card just felt more like spiteful, like a breakup connotation. So I guess it just wasn't the right deck to use for that. And maybe I should have known that, but I really didn't know this deck very well. I hadn't used it a lot. So that, I think maybe that's just user error. I'll chalk it up to that rather than it being the deck itself. But the more I just kind of looked through this, the more I just felt like maybe that's not the voice I want to hear. Maybe I do want something that's just kind of a little gentler, not to coddle me, but I just think that I don't think I had to go, I just felt, I don't feel like I have to go that dark at this time in my life. So what, in place of these 3, now that they're pushed out into Purgatory, I have since acquired these 3. I've got the Earth and Bone Oracle cards, the Lantern Oracle, and Into the Lonely Woods. And I'm going to go run and turn a light on overhead because this contrast is getting weird. Okay, I think that's maybe a bit better. So these are definitely getting into like a softer territory. I mentioned using vessel like for inner child, and I saw this as an opportunity for that as well. So I don't have the actual cards in there. I have Into the Lonely Woods, Living with the Lantern Oracle in here. This is one I never thought I would want because I wasn't really sure how I felt about those creatures. But the more I saw this deck, the more it really endeared itself to me, and I like what the phrases and the guidebook have to say. So, I feel like it's getting so washed out. Sorry. Oof. And then with the Lantern Oracle, I mentioned in my previous video how I will sometimes do an inner child, outer woman reading for myself, as far as like checking in with my inner child, but then also like the adult that I have since grown into. And I feel like these kind of pair the same way, where the Into the Lonely Woods, if that's for child, and then this spans maiden, mother, crone of adulthood. Clearly leaning back into the feminine, whereas I was trying to explore more of the masculine with the other decks. So it does make me feel like maybe it's worth holding on to at least one of these other ones, the Mausolea or the Angelarium, or both, if I still feel like I want to bring in that energy. But then to add to my Dem Bones pouch, which I've shared before in a video, where I've got all my skeleton decks, this Earth and Bone I learned about in a Facebook group, and seemed very good for Shadow too. This is a very, very, very dark deck. I mean, in terms of like the actual coloration of it, it's actually showing up a lot better here right under this light, but I mean, it's very muddied. There's not a lot of contrast to it. It is difficult to see. And I think maybe that's something that's going to be corrected for in a future version, but I don't mind. It serves a purpose. It makes me feel like I'm trying to, I'm in the dark at nighttime, and I'm trying to make out what I'm seeing in the distance. And I kind of like that, but it is showing up a lot better in this light. This lives with my decks that I like to pull out around Samhain, All Souls Day. But I think that this deck also has good potential to be brought out at other times too. Again, just as a sort of shadow work deck, but really have not used it a lot to really put it to the test. I maybe did one or two readings with it, and it spoke well. I think I was using it with the Marigold Tarot. So we'll see. I don't know. You know, I there was just something not like ultimately jiving with these, and I'm just gonna see if that suits better, and if not, you know, I'll just continue the search and we'll see. But that finally does it for my Purgatory decks. That's the state of them, because I believe it was a year ago pretty much when I first shared all the decks that I was decluttering. I am so glad that I was able to rehome as many as I did, but as I shared here, there were still some lingering ones. I think about 6 from that earlier stash, that original one. And then these are the newer ones that are now there. And just for good measure, I'll include a deck. I don't have it on me because it's already packaged up, ready to go to a new home. The Treasures from Above Oracle deck by MJ Cullinane, who created the Crow Tarot and the Urban Crow Oracle, and for Haxa Tarot, Grimalkin Cat Tarot, so on and so forth. Here is the Urban Crow Oracle. The Treasures from Above carries on this style, but it also had its own distinctive structure, because it's not functioning as an oracle like this with a keyword. Its function is to serve as a yes or no oracle. So it's nice to have something like that that can offer that kind of clarity if you just want to know yes or no. I'm not looking to explore the gray in-betweens of everything and possibilities. Like, just tell me. I loved the whole look of it. I loved the whole look of it. It has a very like Victorian fortune telly vibe to it, the way that it works. And I'm sorry I don't have it here to show you, but Basically, you ask your yes or no question, you shuffle, you draw a card. There's an image of a crow at the top, and that varies by each card. You're meant to like just kind of breathe and look at that at first, and then beneath that, there are 3 objects. And you select the object that you intuitively are called to, and then you go in the guidebook and you look up, and that object has its own page, and there's like a nice little rhyme. Again, it just seems like something like from Victorian times, like a little parlor oracle. And at the end of that rhyme, it tells you yes or no to your question. So I asked it a few questions. I feel like its answers were good, and I did take its advice. So I feel like it's effective if you just want that yes or no. I also felt like it was very much a novelty. I think it would be fun like at a party, a gift for someone who isn't hardcore into tarot and oracle, maybe doesn't do any of that. Anyone could pick it up and use it, and it's fun. It felt almost like, not that it's not valid to answer those yes or no questions, but it almost felt like more of a game. And after a few questions, the game already got old for me. And I felt like there are a lot of objects to pick from, so I'm not going to say that I think I could memorize all of them, but I did question right away, like, well, what if I remember, that the hand mirror, whatever it might be, is no? What if I pull this card again and I see that, and I want to see, I'm wanting a yes answer, and I don't want to see no. And so I see that, and I know it means no. And so I'm not going to pick it. I don't know. I just felt like if I used it enough, I would start to remember what some of those objects' answers were. So it was cute. I think my friend will get a kick out of it. All right, so now this is the end. So that one's not even in Purgatory. It just technically hasn't gone to its recipient yet, but it shall be soon. And yeah, let me know what you think about any of these decks. If you emphatically disagree with me on some of them and want to rally to their cause, try to talk me out of rehoming anything, I would love to hear. I'd love to hear any arguments in favor of any of the ones that I'm considering giving away, or if you have had in similar experience with any of them, I'd like to know that too. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. This is 3 for 3 videos today that I filmed, and I think my mind is officially starting to turn off. And yeah, I just need to bring it to an end here. So thank you so much for joining me, and I don't know what I'm going to come back with next, but I'll try to make it decent, and I'll try to change my outfit. Okay, bye.